Hi everyone, it's Billy here from 47 Wolves, All I Am. Welcome and thank you very much again for joining us here. We welcome a very special guest today, Dr Niikee, who brings a wealth of information but a massive heart and a huge energy. I love her energy. You'll love her as well when you listen to it. We are going to be talking today about energies and frequencies, metaphysics, the real cause of disease, and stress. We're going to be discussing traditional customs and areas such as the Mayans and how they live their life and how we can sort of follow suit. We're also going to be talking about slowing down and the physical and other benefits to that. So all in all, it's and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's really exciting to have Dr. Niikee on. I welcome you. I thank you very much again for joining me, and I hope you enjoy. It's Billy here from 47 Wolves, All I Am. I welcome Dr. Niikee with me today on the podcast. Dr. Niikee, just in short, is the healer's healer. She's the principal of the School of Metaphysical Practice and a modern day mystery school for healers. Niikee's got 30 years of 30 years of experience of helping people realign with harmony and creating their highest potential life. Niikee's a wealth of information. She's got incredible amount of knowledge and studies that she's done over the years. She's taught for a long time and helped so many people. She's the medicine woman, light channel, intuitive energetic master, guide and teacher. The list goes on and on. But welcome, Niikee. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine, Billy. So good to see you again.
Oh, excellent. Just for the audience who aren't aware of you and don't know your background, are you able to share a little bit of your backstory and your journey to get to, I guess, to where you are now?
Yeah, I guess it probably started back when I ended up in naturopathic college like 30 years ago. And the reason I was drawn to that in the first place was because of traditional naturopathy, which was proper holism, body, mind, spirit. And the combining of a whole array of different modalities based on what will suit best each individual person. So all the underlying premises, like not treating disease, treating people, treating all levels of the person, finding the underlying cause, all of those things that unfortunately have gone a bit awash in more recent times in those educational systems as well. But yeah, that was kind of what sort of started my journey. I was just absolutely fascinated to even find out about what naturopathic medicine was when it kind of came to me. And yeah, there was a statement that I read, and it was to help people help themselves, and it was an activator. Like my whole body just kind of, and it was like, right, I was in. And in reflection of that, it's like I still, to this day, it's almost like everything that I do is still revolved around that, empowering people, to be able to support their own journeys and, their own health in all sorts of different ways.
Oh, beautiful. And that word empowerment, I've just done a podcast with our good friend, Jean Sheehan.
I
And
love
yeah,
it.
we spoke a lot of about empowerment and self empowerment, and I love what you do. Is you what they say about feeding the man fish or giving the man fish. You teach people the skills to empower themselves rather than rely on external sources or other people. Find it within themselves to become their best version.
Oh, 100%. And it really is the only way to, well, heal, for lack of a better word, which, in my awareness is coming back into alignment with the divinity that we already are.
Okay, yeah, beautiful,
It's
beautiful.
our higher selves, our light being, our spirit self is made in the likeness of God, source, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing, just through different guises, depending on where the awareness is sprouted throughout the world, or throughout the universe even. But ultimately we are already that divine template. And when we come into incarnation, we already have stories that have been collected through ancestry that take us away from that have us believe all of these faulty beliefs, and then we go through experiences that then confirm these faulty beliefs that, we're not good enough, we're not lovable, all of the things that we collect, during our timeline that takes us away from that fact. And, so for me, true healing is really about seeing through the untruths of those faulty programs, and understanding that through that is the evolution, to be able to acknowledge the gift in past experiences, as we move through them into the evolution, rather than, in the old days with, last millennium, I love saying that, it sounds like it's so long ago, but, last millennium, it was really the thing done by lots of our forefathers was, just to pretend stuff's not happening.
Yes.
It's like, oh, don't talk about it, don't tell anyone, don't, all of that stuff. And what it does is it continues to collect those stories in our energy layers. And so which is our subconscious. And, without us knowing, we filter our whole lives through the lens of all of these faulty programs, that we haven't allowed ourselves the opportunity to resolve, or to, understand at a deeper level. And, the most beautiful thing that I love so much about today is that it's just more and more, people are drawn to this. More and more people understand that we don't have to keep doing those same patterns, all the time. And, I just love how, many different ways are sprouting up to do it. And, how a lot more and more people all the time are recognizing the importance of that as well. So it's such an exciting time to be alive.
It is, it is.
Mm.
I was just at a retreat last night, and I pretty much echoed what you just said to the group when I had my time to share. It was, I don't know exact numbers, but it seemed like it was 50-50 male and female. And even 5-6 years, and definitely 10-15 years ago when I sort of began my journey, it'd be quite often I'd be the only male. And that was because of what you were saying there, the generations of men who had the stereotypical attitude that they can't share their feelings, they do get suppressed, and that energy sort of stayed with them. There seems to be a real shift in, like almost a paradigm shift, I guess, that's been called, and globally we seem to be moving away from the fear-based and the anxiousness and the I guess for want of another word, negative side to the new paradigm of love and compassion and empathy, and just, yeah. And it just seemed, I said that to the group last night, I'm blessed to be alive. I feel like I'm blessed to be alive in this time. Yes, there's day-to-day stuff we've got to deal with, but as a whole, I'm really encouraged by more and more people, starting to awaken to the new way, because the old way wasn't working for them. So they might not understand how to get there and what that entails, but they feel it, don't they?
Yeah, 100%. And, I feel so grateful that, we've had the opportunity to awaken to this as well. I know in some spaces it's still quite dense, very dense actually in some places. But, the beautiful thing is that it's because we're a collective, that the more of us that choose to, who can, are creating an expansion for everybody. So this is the reason that people who were once really stuck in the old, oh, that's all just woo woo and make believe, anything outside of the physical, there, so many of those, now are also going, oh, I wonder what that's about. I wonder what that's about. Like, I remember when I first started my journey, it was like, people just thought I was full, like, wacko with, some of the beliefs and things that I had. And, now it really is completely different. It's so different that, majority of people, even if they don't know about it, they won't be so, oh, that's rubbish. They're more so curious now, aren't they, with everything that's kind of happening. So it is happening. It is happening, definitely. When we watch the media, or the hoodwinking of the collective, I like to call it. But, when people are plugged into that, they don't get to see all of the beautiful things happening. So it's, we just realize that's what it is. And, there's so much more life outside of that. And that's when you start to really see it, don't you? And you can just feel the ripple effect. And that in itself is the conduit of creating that resonance for others then to also do the same.
Very true, very true. And I guess once you, um, they talk about the veil, but once that little pinprick in the veil curtain has, you just see inside or you feel that energy, that curiosity naturally says, oh, hang on, what's going on there? What's happening over there? So you gravitate towards it, even if you have no clue what's happening. You do
Especially if it
understand.
feels good, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, how come that feels so different, and it's not based on material belongings or how successful career or any of that. It's just that feeling, and that yeah, and what that does. I guess you'd be able to explain the physiological side of what that does. That positive energy does to our body. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and you get that feeling, and then you're like, oh, I want more of that. That's contagious, and that yeah. I could get
Yeah.
addicted to that. Yeah, so you definitely that piques the curiosity.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And, I think it's really about the distinction between whether it comes from the internal or the external. Like in the old world, the old world.
The old well.
Yeah, I love it. It's the old world. In the old world now. In the in the old world, it was really very much about seeking outside of ourselves, how we can make ourselves happy with this new shiny object or this piece of success or, everything from the outside. And there's an old Buddhist teaching that talks to the thirst that's never quenched. And this is really, it's an example of that, is that, you go for the shiny object and you finally get it. And as soon as you've got it, because it doesn't fill the hole, because the hole is the hole that is what the gap that's missing within the connection to the self, to the true self. And, I think as we evolve and do the inner work, we really come back to who we are at those deeper levels. And because we're inherently divinity, we are that love and light. And, once that's recognized and reconnected to, it's kind of like that feeling comes from within, doesn't it? And like you said, then you don't need all the shiny. The shiny things can still be fun, of course,
Oh, of
but
course.
it's like you don't need that to actually try to, hold that joy and hold that, that love, really, isn't it? That love within that we already are.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I love the term old world. If we take a step back further than that, I know with what you do there, you just recently came from Mexico and went into and spent some time with the Mayans. So that's an ancient wisdom, ancient traditions, ancient culture. Did you want to elaborate a little bit about that? I bring that up because it's we talk about old world,
Yeah.
old in our terminology, but then there was a much older wisdom from
Mm.
centuries and centuries ago who understood what we're probably relearning now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The old ancient wisdom, isn't it? And, even back to all the different incarnations of the earth that have been here before us as well, in all of that wisdom. And I think with a lot of the traditional cultures, I tend to call them traditional rather than old, because to me, old's like last millennium.
Yes.
The modern world being the old construct of the world. But, sort of when you look at traditional cultures, whether it's traditional Chinese medicine cultures or, Ayurvedic that's been there for thousands of years, or, back to the Mayan or the Egyptian and, all of those as more ancient cultures, is they all inherently understood the importance of energy. There was nothing that wasn't energy. They didn't have this, oh, that's just a bit weird, but we've got this tangible evidence. We need to measure it before we believe it. It's like, well, what if you can't measure it? Oh, that must mean it doesn't exist. And it's like, oh, come on, that's like primary school logic, right? If we can't measure it, it mustn't exist. I
Yeah.
can't see you. You can't
Yeah.
be there. It's really, this is blow me away. I spent like 10 years as a research scientist in a research fellow after I did my thesis at the medical school at the University of Queensland. And it was like, some of the old paradigm stuff, it really, I was like, oh my goodness, like it is so simple that, I mean it in a lovely way, of course, but like smart, dumb people. Like it
Yes.
is so simply incorrect, some of the stuff that they're doing, that it's like it blows my mind that they can't acknowledge as simply, not all, of course, but certain, I guess, embedded paradigms in that old way, in that old modern way of being that, really is out of whack with the whole how the world actually operates. And,
Yeah.
back to these traditional and ancient cultures, everything was embedded around that, the seasons, the cycles, the elements, the nature, the day and the night, and all of the things that are,
Yes. Yeah.
and so that deep wisdom is really just opens into that etheric realm, more like what we're doing today again, by us being able to let go of those really dense constructs. It's a continuation of expanding consciousness, which is an awareness when we can let go of the need to have duality, or the need to pinpoint the exact measurement of this thing, which will be different on different days even. And so it's like, hey, what are you going to say about that? Oh, it mustn't exist, right? So it's, yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. And you had a beautiful time with Jean. So we took, I originally was over there last year, and, I had such a beautiful time. And so I was chatting with Jean about it. And then we were kind of talking about, doing something there. And so this was last year. And then, so we ended up taking a beautiful group there this year. And, it was just incredible. Like the beautiful ancient waterways. They have these cenotes, which are where the inner earth water comes to the surface. Well, some are open, so some comes to the surface, but others are in caves. And then they've got all the stalagmites and stalactites. But this water is not like water that we have on the surface, that's been through, the layers of the atmosphere and all of that. It's like this water is just so, it even feels soft. I know that sounds unusual, but when you feel it, it's like, I know what you mean. It's so clear and it's so soft. It really is just it's just magical spaces to be in. And they're all held in such reverence as well. And you find that again with a lot of traditional cultures, they hold the sacredness of things. So the things hold the higher frequency vibrations because they're held in that sacredness,
Beautiful, beautiful. And
as
what
well.
what was the main takeaways for some of the people that came along for the journey for you? Like being enmeshed in that culture and that energy like you talk about. I can only imagine what it would feel like, but it just would have been incredible. But yeah, some of the
Yeah, I think
takeaways.
Yeah, I think one of the most beautiful things, well, aside from the recognition of sacred in everyday life, it's not just but at the full moon we decide to have a ceremony, and that it's almost like, in the where, people will go to church and worship, once a week or something or other, but then the rest of the time they forget it. It's kind of like woven through daily life. Of course, they're in the cities, it's different because they've got a lot of Western sort of, things as well in certain areas. But, when you get in with the traditional people, they function in a flow. They actually function in this spaciousness that things happen without the need to go, why are you running late, what's happening, rah rah rah. It's just like, you go into this ether, and you recognize that that person's just doing something else right now, but they'll come back, and everything just flows, everything happens. And then sometimes within that spaciousness it'll happen even better, without
Yes.
expectation, without the push and the shove and the rush, but it will happen. And it's really, yeah, it's just another layer of space that's created like that. And then things come into awareness without needing to say as well.
And just listening to you there, that seems to me that because they have that connection with nature, that they understand the sacredness
Mm,
of everything that's around them,
mm,
from the sea note water to the jungle to everything that's going on, and they have that flow. Yeah, like you said, everything happens more naturally. It flows, and yeah, it gets done, if not the same, better than what, us in Western society. We rush around and we've got a timetable and schedule, and we've got to be here, and why are you late, and all the hustle bustle. And quite often when we're in that mode, we sit at the end of the day and go, oh, A, I'm exhausted, and B, I didn't get everything done I wanted to do anyway, because we'll push rather than just, uh,
100%, because that it doing that push and the shove, it creates distortion in the field. Like our natural fields, if we allow ourselves to be relaxed, our energy expands, and there is a beautiful flow, a beautiful spaciousness and flow. And it's within that flow that the universe can support us.
yes,
Universal energy wants to support us, but if we're so busy and there's no time and everything's stressed and our energy's distorted because we're ungrounded and we're stressed, it's like there's no room. There's no room for us to literally be supported because we're like just creating distortion everywhere. And as soon as we go into a stress response, and it's really fascinating because I wrote a research paper a couple of years ago on the nervous system. And when we get into a stress response, you get a disconnection to the prefrontal cortex, which means you cannot think clearly. You cannot do higher order thinking processes while you're stressed. That's physiology. It's not that there's anything wrong with anyone. It's like this is how the body works because it disconnects us here. It puts all the energy in the mammalian brain, the survival brain, where we look for danger to keep ourselves alive. So we can, keep ourselves alive. We don't have to worry at that moment about socialization, behavior, consequences for action. These are all come from the frontal cortex. And when I was researching, I think it was just at around 20, it was in 2020, and it was like I was just going, oh my goodness, this is like the problem with the whole world right now. It's like mental health, it's like stress.
stress,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
stress. Like I reckon 75% of people on mental health medication, it's not even mental health, it's the nervous system.
It's the nervous system, yeah,
It's really, when you get into the physiology, the nervous system, the central nervous system affects every body system, not just the mind. It affects the heart, it affects the digestion, it affects breathing, it affects the whole skeleton structure. It
yeah.
like literally affects every single body system, and it's something that is completely denied by Western medicine. Because they got nothing for it. You can't drug the nervous system.
No, no.
Hang on, no, they do surgery and they cut the nervous system off away from pain things when
Oh,
people
okay,
are in chronic pain, and it's
yeah.
just like, okay, wonder what's
Rather,
stuck there energetically. But it's something that because there's no drugs for it, it just gets ignored. And so they're messing with people's brain chemicals when really they should be looking at people having relaxation.
yes, and
Why isn't that prioritized?
and
Breath practice, that was one of the outcomes of the paper. I actually looked at traditional, in a lot of the yogic texts and research that they've done in those lineages about, slowing down the breath. And as you slow down the breath, it stimulates the vagus nerve. When you can slow down the breath enough, rhythmically, to your body, you can feel your body relax and the lungs start to expand so much that the diaphragm, at the bottom of the lungs, that draws downwards, and that stimulates the vagus nerve, and that vagus nerve puts a brake on the stress response in the moment. So it literally works in the moment, the slow breathing, like to the count of 10, just slowing that breath down will stop a stress response in the moment. And then, interestingly, over time, and this is in the research, they found that it creates vagal tone, which means you're less likely to be triggered in a stress response.
so
And so it's like, yeah, totally. So,
not just helping you there in the moment, but it has long term benefits as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, 100%. And so, conscious breathing, just slowing down the breath, you literally feel it. It starts to feel use directions of energy, and the earth energy is one that does go downwards. And so it's grounding. That's literally that feeling of grounding, relaxation, becoming stable enough so we feel safe to expand. And that's where the flow comes.
That's where the flow comes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember a few years back we went over to Mount Shasta over in America and did I think it was about a week long retreat with the Witch Hole tribe from Mexico. They're more in the highlands of Mexico, and one of the things that I took away amongst many things was you mentioned conscious breathing, but we every day that we were there we did like a conscious walk and like walked around the fields and the meadows for an hour barefooted, so we were grounded, and we were literally taking one step as slow as possible, so we were feeling every blade of grass, every ant that crawled on us, and while you're there you're visually looking around, and it just like time slowed down for that hour. And it was so and I didn't understand what you were just saying about the physiological benefits, but you felt it. You felt the
Yeah.
benefit of just. If we were any slower, we would have stopped breathing. Like we were just. You're very focused on your breathing, but every little step and just taking that in, and that connection with nature all around us, and all the senses suddenly were heightened. And just we only did it for a week, and I do it sparingly now, but it's definitely another practice like yoga, like conscious breathing, like meditation. All those things to slow us down are so beneficial.
Isn't it? Totally, 100%. It changes everything, and it's not even hard.
No.
We just have to remember to do it, right?
Yes.
It's like get off the treadmill that we're doing all the time.
It's like you hear
You know,
people say, "Oh, I haven't got time to meditate." Well, that's when you should be meditating.
yeah, totally.
Yeah,
And 5 minutes,
five
five
minutes.
minutes a day is enough. Like energy shifts quickly, and re-encoding of our energy happens with repetition.
Mm,
So it's like doing 5 minutes a day every day for a week is you're going to have better long-term effect than you do if you try and spend an hour
yes. Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
something. So it's not necessary to, you know, add to the overwhelm of a busy schedule. It will actually have the opposite effect because it'll take away the feeling of overwhelm.
Yes.
And then
Absolutely.
that in itself creates spaciousness, doesn't
Beautiful.
it? And then it's
Beautiful.
like then we can think clearly, and it's actually easier to get everything done in that
That's
way, isn't it? In that kind of openness and that flow.
and
Mm.
like the Mayans and other traditional areas that you're in that flow, so that you're getting everything achieved, but not without all the stress, and yeah, and that stress builds up over time too, doesn't it? Which probably leads me to where I was heading next with the your school of metaphysics. Um,
Yeah.
the the understanding is that dis-ease that we talk about, and the metaphysical side, our bodies tell us when something's wrong, and it's quite often, well, it's always energy, and it's based around our stories, what you said at the start of the podcast, and all the stresses and overworking and overstressing and go, and quite often, yeah, it'll come out in our organs or different parts of the body, like you mentioned about the frontal cortex. Yeah.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And, that's something that traditional medicine has always known as well. When you look at the old Ayurvedic teachings around the chakras, the energy portals that exist in those spaces provide energy to all of the organs in that area. And they're also related to developmental milestones or awarenesses that we have the opportunity to harmonize during our life as well. And what happens is when disharmony gets stuck in any of those spaces, it directly affects the organs that are in that area. And the energy happens first. By the time energy has been disharmonious for long enough that the body can't regenerate itself, which it does naturally, that's just natural healing of the body, then it becomes physical dis-ease, which interestingly, and I love putting it like that because it's out of ease. When it's out of ease, it can't heal itself. And then over time, whatever is in that area can't can't function properly. And that's where we literally get disease. And it's there's a lot of it written in traditional Chinese medicine, the five element theory. They talk about the emotions and where they get different emotions get stuck in different areas of the body as well. And being in clinical practice for so long, it's like it's not just stories. It's not just what they write in the old text. It's like I see it all the time. And that's not even me being intuitive. I joke with the clients sometimes. It's like, they got something going on with the throat. It's like, do you kind of find it hard to express yourself? Or, do you feel like you're not being heard when you do express yourself? And they're like, yes, all the time, right? When there's something going on with the
How did
throat.
you know that?
Well, that's just the energy of that energy center. That's even without being intuitive. And then I giggle because it's like, that's just what's written in the text, but you literally see it. You see it
And
all the
we've gone
time.
away from that, obviously with the last, that old, what am I saying here? The pharmaceutical industry, they can't benefit if we're able to self-empower ourselves and heal ourselves essentially, and that's empowering in itself. Rather than we've sort of become accustomed to going to into the Western medicine. There's nothing wrong with Western medicine, but we've lost that ability to understand our own bodies and reading that and saying, okay, well, maybe I don't need to take that pill or that antidepressant. Maybe I can look at my diet. Maybe I can look at my energy levels. Maybe I can look at the way I'm thinking, my feelings. Can I slow down? Can I meditate? Yeah, there's so many things we can do for ourselves, isn't there?
Totally, totally, totally. And it makes me feel sad actually that how, healthcare has been hijacked. Really, like people have been completely disempowered with anything about their own health and just led to believe that the doctor will have a magic pill for them. They take no responsibility, but there'll be a magic blood test that'll magically be able to tell them what's going on, and then there'll be a magic pill, and it's like then they're devastated when no one can find out what's wrong with them. It's like that, they can only look for what they think it might be. There isn't a magic test. Like people honestly believe there's a magic test that's going to find out what's wrong with them. And it's like, no, you got to hope that your physician has some idea and gets the right test so that they, can find maybe, what's out of alignment. And, Western medicine has got beautiful diagnostics. And I say that to clients sometimes as well. It's like, go and get your test, but it doesn't mean you have to take the pills, but it gives you a clearer idea of what's actually happening, and then we can have other ways and other ideas about where to from there. I rarely do that though, because you don't really need to, because the body tells us so clearly, right? The
Yes.
body just tells us so clearly what's happening. So it's not something that it's not something that I would do often at all. But if someone really wants to, it's like, yes, go and do that if that's going to make you feel better. But it doesn't mean you need to then go and take the pills, which can't address the underlying cause, because drugs can't harmonize organs.
No, and
They just can't.
quite
What they
often
can do is force action.
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
and quite
yeah,
often
yeah.
they'll be detrimental to your body in other areas as well,
Long
won't they?
term, long term, 100%.
Yeah,
Sometimes in emergencies they're beautiful, and they can really help people in the moment when it's needed. But then it's like, what's the long term solution is not to continue to ignore the underlying cause,
yes,
which, that was one of the things that never made sense to me. I'm like, but they're not like dealing with anything that's really happening with the person. It's like, it is what it is. And
it's
that's
that
that's that's pretty much why I left. I
right.
left academia and all of that because I didn't want to become a cranky, frustrated person. Totally. I was like, nah, I'm done. I'm done. I no, I can't stand it
was,
anymore.
was was that a gradual journey for you, or did you just was there a light bulb moment where you just went, no, I can't do this anymore?
Well, I work with ascended master guides, and which do change from time to time. People often ask, "Oh, who?" and all of this, and it's like, well, it's different. It's different at different times. Who's there depending on, what, what's in what's needing to be done, or depending if I'm working with a particular client, they may have different lineage or different, different
Beautiful.
guides that are working with them as well, who then we all co-create in that way. But my guides at that time were really nudging me, and then the nudges got harder and harder and harder, and I was still up, but I was in that, oh, but what am I going to do without a job? I'm sure people can relate to this, right? What
Yes.
job? But then all my jobs started being made redundant. Like this department lost funding and this department lost funding, and I was like trying to like grab onto the bits of my fear of, how am I going to survive? And then it was just like I just had to surrender. It was just like I couldn't even vision what else. It was like, nah, just surrender, just surrender, just surrender. And I'll be like, but, as you do.
Yeah, yeah.
As you do, yeah. And then I finally, made that decision to go all in with, the work that I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, something like that.
Oh,
So,
beautiful.
I was
Yeah.
always doing bits, but the interesting thing as well is that it was like I had my right brain, my left brain doing the academic stuff, but then I had my right brain, teaching the flower essences and doing all the studies of, the ancient lineage stuff and yoga and all of that. But it was kind of like I was in such a fear program that it was like, don't tell these people at the uni that I do all this other stuff.
Right. Yeah.
I'd
So
be like, no.
you're leading this secret life.
Yeah, totally, totally. And that's not alignment either, which, and it all just had to come to a crescendo, because it's like, that's just, you can't live like a split. I mean, you can, but it's
Yeah.
not alignment, is it? It's like, so
No.
how can that come back together in unification? And the interesting thing is, after I left all of that, um, created the more of the work that I'm doing now, and created more space around that, so I could get more inspiration and bring more stuff back into creation, that other stuff started trickling back in. So it wasn't that my academic skills were then just made redundant. It was like, I've written, I got commissioned to write some beautiful papers, like I said, on the nervous system and breath, on, meditation and brain waves, and, really interesting stuff. So, I'm everything that I learned through that process, I'm still able to, benefit from in that way. So it's fascinating that even though to make that leap, I had to let it all go. But then it's like, oh, okay, once this was more solidified, it's like, okay, now this other stuff can come back in. And, even opening my own school, the guides that I'm working with, were starting to show me more and more different ways to work with energy. And after a couple of years, it was like, they were like, okay, now you can teach this to other people. And I'm like, me? What do you mean, me? And it's like, because I'd been a clinical teacher already for a dozen years before that, through the naturopathic school, and in the School of Medicine as well. And then I was kind of like, oh, I get it. And so developing a type of clinical curriculum, but at the same time, but purely based on energetics and all of that. And so I absolutely love it. And the results that that people are getting, working in these ways, that it's completely unique to people as well. It's not a method or a modality. It's an allowing. It's an allowing of co-creation between our guides and whatever's going to be in the highest and best for that person, at that time. And yeah, it's really remarkable. So it's
Yeah.
worth it. If anyone's out there sitting on the fence about taking that leap of faith, do it before the earth crumbles beneath you, and then you have to do
And you're
it.
right, Dr. Niikee. I'm in the early stages of the podcast, and I've just recently surrendered my business. I've got a couple of health issues which I'm working through with the disease, and it, when I've sat with it for a few times, it has come from overwork, overstress, overexerting myself physically, and since I made that decision probably a month ago, and this has been something, I worked for the police for 15 years, probably talk about myself for a minute, but throughout that time, it would have been probably the last 5-10 years, I had the a government job, so I had the security, and I kept thinking, oh no, but it wasn't absolutely. In the meantime, I was like you're saying, I was living two lives. I studied this and studied that, and done a lot of spiritual stuff on my journey. But then I was going back to this low density, low frequency. And there's a job there, like the police do a wonderful job, but it wasn't no longer in alignment with me. But it took several years for me to get to the point where I went, oh, I can't do this anymore. And then I went into the another business, which was more. I felt like I was neutralizing because I didn't have the courage to go full on, like you said, all in, get off the fence, and go with what I'm doing now. And yes, podcast is only a part of what I want to achieve, but I love every day now. I get up and I've got I'm doing everything in alignment with my heart, and I'm only early days. You said 6-7 years ago you made that decision, and I can see. I've been watching you from afar. You can tell, like Gene's another one. You're not working a day in your life, as they say, because you're doing everything that you love, and the rewarding aspect of that for yourself, but also for everyone that you're helping out, is just incredible. And I think, like you were saying before, there's more and more of us joining that movement, I guess, and it feels authentic. It feels genuine. I don't have any ill feelings towards myself because I'm procrastinating or I'm not good enough. I've let all that go, and for, like you said before, but for anyone out there, just get off the fence, work out what it is that you want, seek Dr. Niikee or someone else that can maybe guide you to help you initially, but it's all inside you. You just got to learn to remember what makes your light shine, and yeah.
Yeah, totally, totally. And I love that offer as well about, we are a collective and there's nothing wrong with seeking support as well. Like I go to therapy when there's stuff for me. Like I love it actually. I'm like, right,
Yeah.
I need someone who's going to call me on my BS, like that. And it's like that's the beautiful thing about being a collective. We are here to support each other as well. Even though the ultimate work needs to be done by us, but it's like having that support or that structure, or someone who's going to see through our resistance or something or other to give us the key, the next level key or something or other, that it can really shortcut the amount of time that it takes as well to
Absolutely.
work through
And
to work
going back to
through
the
stuff as well.
traditional customs and all your traditional groups around the world, that's how they were. They call them tribes, or sometimes we do, or clans, or different names for it. But they worked as a group, and their elders. They certainly called their young'uns out and said, right, no, that's not good enough. This is what you need to do, but they guided them always with love and nourishment, and no man is an island, no woman is an island, and that worked for them, and it still works for them, as you witnessed recently. And probably in society, particularly with the technology now, more and more people have sort of some people get moving away from in recent years that they don't want to even leave their house because they order their shopping online, and so they're not getting that interaction, not just with nature but with other people as well. So they've moved away from that, but I think they still know that there's something missing. And it's when we ask for help, when we find our community or our tribe, whatever people want to call it, that enhances everybody. And talking recently about the old paradigm of competition and being in business, and you can't be successful unless I take from someone else or I beat someone else. We're moving away from that. I feel that we are going into that expansiveness, and that energy is changing. So we're actually helping each other's journey, and you helping someone, that doesn't take away from you. That helps you help them, and your energy levels go up. I asked someone last night who teaches, and I said, "Oh, are you exhausted by the end of the day?" And they said, "No, I love it." And having been a Reiki practitioner myself, people used to say that to me, and I go, "No, I get energized by this. I'm a conduit. I'm
Yes,
not
all the
soaking anything up
gratitude.
for me." If you're a physical masseuse or doing something physical, sure, that might physically take it out of you, but if you're using the energies, oh no, you get to the end of the day and you see firsthand what you've done for people, and it's so energetic. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that as well that you bring that point, because I get that asked that as well, and it's like if we are getting drained, are we maybe not It's like there is energy available from higher sources for us to draw on. And so, by its very nature, we are getting energized because it's just flowing through, isn't it? It's like it's facilitating the journey rather than being the person that feels like, that we have to do, so to
Yes.
speak. So that old world again, isn't it? The doing, and overdoing. It's like the less we do, the more space there is and the more room there is for co-creation
Beautiful,
that
beautiful.
way, isn't there?
Yeah.
So
So with your school of metaphysics, I know we've touched on it. Is that how would you describe that? How do you help people? Is that have you got some, one or two tools that maybe even for the audience to take away from today's podcast?
yeah. So well, I've got the practitioner training. I've got a few other. There's actually quite a bit on there. I've developed in the last couple of years another co-creation with the elementals. So I've created the Library of Sacred Elements,
Beautiful.
which is elements of heaven and earth. So I've downloaded 10 elements altogether, and we've created a quiz. And there's a earth realm element quiz and a cosmic element realm quiz. And the quiz, I recommend going and having a go at each of those, because what you'll receive is a teaching about each of those, whichever element's most relevant for you at this time, and a practice
Oh, awesome. Yep.
that's there. So that's available on the school website. Yeah, under the Library of Sacred Elements. So that's kind of a nice little thing that's there. Or, if you are a healer or into healing, on my main website, I've got a free e-guide, which is New Earth Energy Healing, and it's a channeling that I received from the guides last year about how we can shift from the old paradigm healing into new paradigm healing, so we do stop those repeating patterns. And so they shared 3 keys. So that's another beautiful resource, that's available there as well. So my website's drniikee.com. Um, yeah, so you can find that, or I can share some links with you, and
Yeah, I'll put
the
those links
quizzes
on
or
the
whatever, because they're
I'll,
fun. The quizzes
I'll
are
put the
fun to
links on the
do.
social media and the YouTube. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, because there's a I've known you for a little while, but just been watching you from afar, not stalking you, but just admiring you from afar. Because I've loved how you, whenever you do your videos on Facebook, and it might be just a quick live here and there, and your heart just shines through. You speak with authenticity and a genuineness, and that I've admired. You're not there trying to. It's not about selling products or selling what you're doing. You have a genuine, heartfelt love of helping people, and that just shines through. So I think anyone that joins you on social media will see that pretty quickly, and even listening to you today, it's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks
yeah.
heaps. Thank you.
No, that's very good. And I guess where I'm heading with that is that you made your decisions a few years back when you, like you said, you're sitting on the fence and living these a double life, so to speak, and you found you're now living authentically, so you're more in alignment with what your calling is and who you are, and that's obviously helping so many people out there. What would you say to people who are listening to that are sitting on the fence? What would be the first one or two steps to moving towards that? And given that everyone's circumstances are different in their background, but yeah,
Yeah, really great question. And what I find is that fear and love are the opposite ends of the spectrum. Fear gets created in the mind. Love already exists in the heart. And so when you notice yourself overthinking, what you can do is pause, breathe, take a few nice long breaths, imagine a golden cord coming down from the mind into your heart space, and then start to breathe consciously through in and out through your heart space to activate the energy in that space, and then feel what you know to be true, not think it. Feel what you know to be true. And if it lights you up, that's it.
mm, Beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful.
that's
Thank you
it.
for sharing that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
cool.
Probably leads me to my next question with the energies of fear and love. They're obviously opposite ends of the spectrum, and there's a lot of you see those charts with all the various energy levels. What's your take on the frequency? So, and we call it energy frequency. Because it is real. It's tangible, even though we may not. Have anything in paper, but I love when we I haven't been there for a few years, but the Balinese they'll do their ceremonies morning and night, and if they're selling a property, they'll bless the building. They bless their transport, their scooter or their car. That's not a for us. It's not a living thing, but they bless it, and they love every piece of metal on that motorbike, because that enables them to get where they're going, to get to work, whatever their daily chores are, and they seem to live in the flow. And I think I was saying to Jean the other day that they tend not to have a lot materialistic, but they're some of the happiest people I've ever met in my life, and because they have that gratitude, and their frequency levels are at a level that is quite hard for us to fathom, because we're so busy in our life here in Australia and Western society.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like back to that sacredness that we were talking about, isn't it? It's like, holding that reverence, holding that higher frequency around, around gratitude, isn't it? Gratitude's a heart frequency. And so that's really imprinting every time we move into that gratitude and sacredness and, doing things that we love. It harmonizes our heart, which raises our frequency. And over time, that's what becomes our energetic imprint. And so, our energetic imprint, if it is operating at a higher frequency, energy magnetizes itself. And they know this. That's why they bless things, because they know they're going to have better luck if they're leaving good energy. I try to keep away from the word good and bad, because that's a perception.
Yes, yeah,
But it's
yeah.
like, when you're looking at frequency, it's like when things are operating at a higher frequency, so they're moving more quickly, they're more like spirit and less like density. It's where there is more flow, more spaciousness. And because energy magnetizes itself, that's one of the universal laws. Because energy magnetizes itself, you have better luck. And it's not even luck, it's alignment. You're just aligned to higher frequency opportunities, higher frequency things will come, into your aspect. And, that's one of the things that I've loved the most since I've left mainstream, is that I kind of forget sometimes that mainstream still exists. I'm like, oh, is that still happening? And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful that, because I'm holding this level of frequency, that I'm magnetizing experiences and people that are also, holding that frequency as well. And like, this is literally how everything is shifting. It really is, that ripple effect is a literal thing. It's like, if we can all be in charge of our own energy, we're influencing everything around us, in that
And it
way.
just
And
and it just permeates out and amplifies, like you say.
yeah,
My energy is my energy, your energy is your energy. But like we've all been, if you've been in a room with 20 people and we've all got similar energies, oh, it's
yeah,
palpable. You can feel it. And then the other end of the spectrum, if you walk into a place where they say they cut the air with a knife because everyone's tense and low vibrational, you can feel that instantly. You don't have to be an intuitive or anything like that. People, yeah, they get that. There's a big difference in the frequency levels, and
yeah,
uh,
energy comes into resonance with itself. And that's the magic, and that's what we can work with, or have it work against us when we don't believe it.
yes,
It's
yeah.
like, but it's literally how it goes. Whether people believe it or not, it's like, that's how it works.
And without that expectation as well. So you're living in that high frequency or that high energy levels, but without things do happen. We won't say good or bad and everything,
Mm.
but quite often that something will happen and you think, oh, geez, that didn't go so well, or I didn't really want that to happen, or I lost my job, or whatever it is. But that quite often opens a door. Like you said, your funding was going, and all of a sudden that drew
Always.
you
There's
to where you
always
are
a
now.
greater thing at play that we can't see at the time, but it's like, no, there's something else. There's something else that's at the other side of that.
And you've seen that. You've seen that firsthand. You could have gone down that fear based spiral and gone, oh my god, the funding's leaving, or what am I going to do? How am I going to survive? And blah blah blah.
Mm.
But instead, you said it earlier, and I was going to bring it up. That choice is important too, isn't it, Dr. Niikee?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. We are free will beings. Like that's the law. Like we've all got guides, but unless we ask, they can't do anything for us. We're 100% free will and we do have a choice. And I think that's something that we've forgotten as well with the programming that's been happening, in our society for too many generations now. It's like that stuckness. I've got to go to this job that I hate every day of my life, sit in traffic for ages, go home, do whatever and not be happy, and then that's just a perpetual thing because that just becomes an energy in itself,
Very
doesn't
good.
it, in that way?
It does. So you mentioned that amongst so many things that you do for people, but you help other healers raise. What do you do for other healers in your programs?
Yeah, so in the last few years it's sort of been become clearer that that's typically who I tend to work more with because I feel that my role now is rather than helping everybody at the coal face, it's like, okay, I can help you guys more quickly so you can help everybody else. And it's like, when we're doing the energy work, when you're working with people, that are for newly awakening, it's like the energy works here, but people have been doing a work who've been doing the work for a while. It's like the energy works out here, and like this is my mastery is out here. It's like, okay, and people are like, whoa, and it's like, okay, hope you go down there. It's like you can do that. Like, yeah, it's great. And yeah. So that's kind of why yeah, just being clearer about the fact that I'm there to be able to facilitate at that level as well for people.
Yeah, and that sounds like that self empowerment as well. That quite often people are, and we've all been through it, or I definitely have. When I started doing healings, Reiki, and other practices, modalities, that you've still got that old paradigm thoughts in your head of self doubts. Am I good enough? All those old things that we carry with us. It's
Yeah.
yeah, so you get that sort of bounce back and forth. Oh, this feels really good, healing, and I can feel the intuitiveness, I can feel the energy shifts, but oh, are they feeling it, or is everything like, is this working, or am I good enough? And so yeah, it's that self
Yeah.
empowerment that you say once you do get let all that go and get out of your brain. Yeah,
Yeah,
so you,
yeah.
you,
And
you
the guides have really opened up a lot of what's possible and how we break cycles. And that's in my practitioner trainings, what I teach about. I also do mentoring with people as well, with healers to really help to, navigate their next layer of what they're able to, facilitate for people as well. But it really is different. Like I encourage you, if you're interested, read that ebook because that's what the guides, they were like, right, share, how can we share this in a way that it's going to help everyone no matter what they're doing, who's on the path of being of service, as a
yes,
healer as well. It's just kind of these how we can really go next level,
yeah,
with
yeah,
things, even giving people things like integration things to do afterwards, because like you said, we can shift a lot of energy during a session, but if a person then takes no responsibility, the old model takes no responsibility, goes back into their life, starts doing all the same self loathing stuff, having fights with everyone, they're going to get re imprinted again. And that's why the cycles continue. And, so even things like that, getting people to do stuff for 5 minutes a day, having those practices and,
because
helping them to understand why that's important as well to continue the energy work,
yeah, and
to
it's
continue with whatever
shifting
the
their behaviours and patterns, isn't it? So because they're all their old habits are so entrenched, they've been doing it for X amount of years. So it does take a little while.
generations,
Generations, yes.
generations, different timelines as well. And we've bought this stuff too clear now.
Mm.
It's not there to be a pain in the butt. It is a pain in the butt if we don't, work through it, but it's there for us to actually work through to the evolution. And then that's the gift
Yeah.
of it. And,
Yeah.
changing that perception to be able to witness it all as a gift is the mastery
Yes. Yeah.
as
Beautiful.
well.
You've mentioned your guides. I love that you've got your guides, and you said they chop and change a little bit depending on who you're
Mm.
dealing with. And how did you first sort of how did that come about? Did that yeah
It's a good
what's
question, actually. I can kind of, through my life, remember on numerous occasions about being in dialogue with stuff that wasn't there, just at times when I was having a hard time, kind of thing. So they kind of have been there. I'm pretty sure most of my life. I remember when I was a child, I used to have, my favorite was when Dad would bring home, really big cardboard boxes. That was like my best toy ever. And I used to sit in the backyard in this box and talk. Like I used to speak to, I guess guides and other things in the garden and all of that. And mum just, she said she just used to leave me. She'd go out and check, and I'd be there having a jolly old time, having a chat with whatever's happening out in the garden. So I guess that was sort of there, a bit as well. But then, you go through school, you go through the mocking, the thinking that, maybe there's something wrong with your brain. And so you're like, oh, better not like be perceptive. I might, be teased or whatever. And so, go through that normal cycle of that forgetting and kind of keeping it separate. But I do remember, on a few occasions when I have been, had bad relationships or whatever, and I've been in full dialogue about stupid humans. I used to be like, humans, and then I'd be, and I'd be like, okay. But that, yeah, so they've kind of been
beautiful?
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
And I mean,
obviously
everyone
there.
has. We've all got them, and the higher frequency they are, the more collective their energy is too. So it's not like single being, it's more like beingnesses, because that unity consciousness as we evolve is real. It's like
Mm,
we actually become collective.
yeah. Yes.
So it's like a frequency of this beingnesses are now in communion, sort of
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, it's
And
interesting.
how it's ironic because this came up last night, and everyone had their different perspectives and viewpoints. Communicating with your higher guides, is that a matter of you increasing your frequency to match them? Is there
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
is
Like
there
totally,
is
totally. Like to be a match to receive higher frequency information, we need to, yeah, be a match
Yeah,
to it.
because if you're low vibrational, or if you're feeling yeah, everything's happening to me, and playing the
In
victim and
doubt,
all that,
confused, yeah,
it's
all,
yeah.
all that
I
stuff.
guess
We've all
you've
been
got that.
there. Like
Yes,
there's
of
nothing
course.
wrong
Yeah.
with that. We've
No,
all been
no.
there.
Yeah.
Why can't I hear clearly what's coming through? And it's like, it's just getting rid of that density, isn't it, over time, just allowing it to move through and understand the gift is
Yes.
the
Yeah.
evolution, which stops the repetition. So read that e-guide. It's
Yeah, we'll do, we'll do. Yeah,
fascinating.
and it's probably the other thing too is that consistency. So not just doing it every now and then. Would you say that that regular correspondence and that regular
100%.
making an effort to go to that frequency is that would just get improve the communications.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Particularly if you've been a bit on and off, the
Mm,
regularity will start to become what your frequency is. And then it's easier to maintain it. It's like
mm,
everything, it's easier to maintain
yeah.
it's the way it is. And it doesn't mean that, if you have a bad day, your energy is going to drop. It's like your energy might waver in the moment, but then because your energy is usually higher frequency, you bounce back much more quickly. And it's like,
Yes.
oh, back again.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
we're all human. We have our moments, and
yeah,
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 but
yeah,
yeah,
totally,
don't get entrenched
totally.
in that, and let that go like the cloud in the sky. Let it fly past and get back into it, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. But even, if it keeps coming back up, it's like something that is gifting us the opportunity for another level of growth.
yes,
So to value that as well, to value the ups and downs in that way, it's like, okay, what's happening here? Where is it directing me in another way?
That's true. Yeah, I was saying to someone last night the it's almost like a spiral. So I quite often say it's not the person or the event or the circumstance that we need to deal with necessarily. Of course, we're human, so we probably do. But like you were saying before with the dis-ease, it's dealing with the emotion that's come up, and quite often it's an emotion of whatever that emotion is that we haven't dealt with in past experiences and past lives. There's another opportunity. Okay, I'm feeling frustrated right now, or where else have I felt frustrated, or feeling lack of self-love, or whatever that may be. Where else have I felt that? What circumstances? Oh yeah, I didn't deal with that. And if you dabble back without going into your mind too much, it's not happening to us. It's another opportunity to and the more you practice that, the quicker you do transmute that and get back into your higher frequency.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And then that through the evolution, the old program transforms. It's the only way.
Yes.
We can't just write it on a piece of paper and throw it in the fire and it's going to disappear,
Yeah.
unfortunately. In density, it was a way of, putting the intention behind it, creating it to want to leave. But, it's really about we're shifting dimensions. And,
Mm.
to get through the eye of the needle, we can't take the old stuff with us.
No. No.
So, yeah. And so
Yeah.
it's there for us to move through now, which is really exciting.
Beautiful. Yeah. No, it is very exciting. I feel like we're pretty blessed to be living in this timeline at the moment. And I think you mentioned it before. I feel very deeply that we have come here to heal past lives, past generational, ancestral traumas and everything else. This is our role. This is part of our role to lift the frequencies and to heal that and to let it go, so we can then move forward into the new paradigm space. Yeah.
Totally, totally. And it's the work we're doing is not just for ourselves, it is for our lineage, it is for our collective as well. It's like I love this analogy that I've shared a few times before. It's like if we've got a collective program about being unworthy, there might be, 20 million other people, maybe a billion other people that have all got this same program. And so it in itself holds a density. Every single time one of us pulls a pin out of that, it actually loosens the program for everyone, which then makes it easier. So we're not just doing the work for ourselves, which is the beautiful thing. It's like those of us who can are, or
Yes.
have the opportunity to choose to, don't we? We can choose to
We
if
can
we
choose to.
desire,
Yes. Very
but
important.
it is like that too. That's like it's shifting everything as well.
And that cushion that you're talking about, that'll compound. So it might start off with a few minorities, but then, and it's already happening. The more of us
Mm.
that are doing that, that's freeing up that space for more and more. That seems to be increasing, which is exciting. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally, totally. And, and I love what you're doing here with your podcast too. It's, having these conversations and allowing others to also go, I get that. And then, that's also, that freedom of expression, isn't it? Which
Yes.
we never had in other timelines.
Yeah. and
In that way,
and
it'd be like, hope your doors are locked.
and thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, that's definitely one of my objectives, I guess, to be my most authentic self and invite people like yourself who are doing the same, and being the example, and that will free and give permission for anyone out there listening to go, hey, they're doing it. What's stopping me? Let's go. Yeah.
Totally,
So no,
totally.
no,
Yeah,
thank you.
great.
Yeah, excellent. Was there anything that you'd like to share with us today? You've got
Oh
so
man,
much wisdom,
I
but
think we
yeah,
just talked about heaps of great stuff. But yeah,
yeah.
it's been really cool. Thank you.
No, you're very welcome.
Nice to
I've
share.
just got a couple of questions that I'd like to finish with, if you don't mind. And so, what you probably we've danced around this a bit, but what inspires you to do what you do?
My why is to support the evolution of the collective.
Okay, beautiful. I love that answer. Yeah, short but so powerful. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about us. It's about, like you said before, the collective and the influence and impact we can have on the whole world.
Mm.
Not just people, but life, nature, fauna, flora. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
you know
so
that
true.
with the flower essences, that all the energies that you put into that when you're making those, yeah, that has an impact on the people receiving them. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, oh, the beautiful flower essences as well. Yes, yes, yeah, they're amazing too.
And what are the keys to happiness, peace, and being all of you?
Hmm, creating space, creating space. Like I think my lineage, like in the Vedas, they talk about samskaras, which are like life lessons. And I come from a long line of workaholics, and I used to like do so much stuff like all the time. And it's really been in that allowance of me trusting more and creating space that is, continues to allow things to grow and evolve much more easily.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. Yeah. Very good. And of course, you've touched base on it before, but where do we find you online? So Dr.
.com.
Niikee.com, yes, yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think there's a link to the school there because I think it's like Podia slash Dr. Niikee or something or other. And yeah, on the socials. So Dr. Niikee
Yes.
Vitality Sage on the socials, at
Oh,
Dr. Niikee Energy Medicine on Insta.
beautiful.
YouTube, Dr. Niikee, something like that. So if you get the spelling of my name right, you could Google it and
Yeah, and it does.
that
It
comes
does.
up as well.
It literally just does come up. So yeah, no, it's good. And it's a fascinating website. It really only had. Oh, I've had a fair bit of a look because I just wanted to see. Even though I know you, I wasn't really. I just see snippets of you on Facebook and social media, and I just
Mm.
didn't realise you did so much.
Well, the
Yeah, not just in
beautiful
your background, but you offer
Mm.
so many things to so many people, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing is, even though I was talking about doing less, and it's funnily enough, it is doing less, but operating in this space of co-creation, it's like there's always creation. And so
Yes.
it's like, and like it's the joy, it's not draining. It's like, oh wow, how cool is that? Yes, I will share this. If I don't, someone else will. It'll end up coming through somewhere else, right? If
That's
people need it,
that's true.
in that
Yeah.
way. And so it's kind of creation does operate on that creation energy, isn't it? In
Yes.
that way. So yeah,
Oh,
it's beautiful just to have that fluid and flexibility of, not scheduling everything for the next year and, all of that. It's just kind of like, oh, I wonder what's going to be in a couple of months. I start getting an idea. There's a few things kind of floating around for what's next, but it kind of, when it lands and it's, yeah, with that flow.
that flow, and that's
Like
important,
the
isn't it?
traditional cultures, hey?
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely.
You're the epitome of what's been successful with them for so long. You're the shining example for others to live that way, and it's not impossible. It's far from that. It's a choice, like we talked about.
Yeah, and
We
it
can
takes
we can
practice.
It
It
does,
takes
yeah.
practice to undo the many generations
Yes.
of stuff. And so, it's always a reflection. Like I know myself, as soon as I get into the old patterns of feeling like I've got to do too much, I've got that personality type. It's like, but I can feel it straight away. It's like I get this constriction all the way through here. And it's just like, I don't like it. I don't like the feeling of it. And it's just
Yeah,
like, right, okay, where's my schedule? What do I need to reschedule right now? And
yeah, yeah,
yeah, and so it's just having that in the awareness and
yeah.
knowing that it's possible, knowing
Mm,
that whatever we set our heart's desire on is possible. It's
beautiful.
possible when it benefits everyone.
And you don't have to be go 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 and push 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 to get to achieve those objectives or
Doesn't
goals.
work.
Yeah, no, it
Doesn't
doesn't work.
work. Keep running into the wall. It's like, why is this so hard? Well, it does work, but it's hard work and it doesn't need
Yes,
to be.
No, you
Doesn't
fall over
need
the
to.
line, you're completely exhausted, which leads to what we've been talking about with disease. And
Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
Why do it that way when you can do it the more flowing, easygoing way?
Yeah, totally, huh? Yeah, agreed.
That's how nature does it. A
Mm.
rainforest is not in a hurry; it just does its thing, doesn't it?
Beautiful, isn't it? All of
Yeah,
the things, and it just happens the day, the night, the seasons, the cycles. We don't have to make it happen, it just happens, doesn't it? So that's a
absolutely.
beautiful analogy.
Mm, yeah, definitely, definitely. All right, well, thank you very much, Dr. Niikee, for
Yay,
joining
thank
me
you,
today.
Jim.
I
Been
just
an
had such a
absolute
good
pleasure.
time. Oh, thank you. And yeah, it's been a wonderful talk. I hope everyone out there has got as much out of it as I have, because it's been yeah, fascinating. Like I said at the start, you're not just the information that you provide, but your heart space, and it goes to. I love how you've brought science in a way to the spiritual woo woo stuff, as we call it, because it is all encompassing. It's all it's amazing, and that's life, yeah. And thank you so much for joining me today once again. I'm
Thank you,
so
thank you.
appreciative, and yeah, thank